All right, welcome back to another live broadcast of the Money Lab podcast from the Six Figure Academy. I am your host, Wei Hong from the Six Figure Academy. Now, this is the podcast where we give you tips, strategies, and interviews with other entrepreneurs on how to create that ultimate six-figure entrepreneur lifestyle, free of bad money stories, money anxiety, and stress so that you can monetize your dreams and execute your genius. Now, if you haven't already downloaded our free ebook From Money Anxiety to Six-Figure Mastery, make sure you go to go.thesixfigureacademy.com and get it there. It's the perfect complement to all the things we discuss on the show. And quite frankly, we've been told that it can change your life. And it certainly has for many, many, many people out there. Now, if you're joining us live today and you are not on YouTube Live, so if you are on YouTube Live, you can see us waving at you right now. Make sure you get on Spreaker.com and download the Spreaker app on your mobile device and search for the hashtag #TheMoneyLab so that you can join us in the chat room and ask questions, interact with our guest and us as well, and even request a specific topic to discuss that will help support you in your quest for the ideal six-figure lifestyle or anything else that our guests bring to the table. Now, while you're there, subscribe so that you don't miss an episode and can catch us every week. For all other ways to find us, go to thesixfigureacademy.com/radio for all the details. And if there's something you love about what you hear on this episode, and I almost guarantee that you will, you know that what you hear could help someone that you care about, remember, sharing is caring. So share this show to that person almost immediately if you can, because that's the kind of world that we live in today. So with that being said, let me welcome to the show our guest today, Dr. Rodney Ruge. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Great to be here.
And good to finally get you on the show. I know the last time, several weeks back, we wanted you on the show. We started promoting you, and then you had a little set of circumstances.
I had surgery.
You had surgery.
Yeah.
Are you going to share what you had surgery
Well,
about?
I thought I had one hernia. Turns out I had three.
Hey, might as well go big or go home, right?
Triple whammy. Yeah, it set me back a little bit.
That's kind of like a home run deal.
Yeah, without the score.
Why go for a base hit? So the score was you coming out alive.
Yeah.
Well, let me give people a little bit of a context about who and what you're, what makes you your atypical doctor of chiropractic, because that's your job by day, right?
Yeah, that's my title.
Your title, right? You've been in practice for about 20 years.
Yep.
You've actually worked on this body for a little bit. You fixed my shoulder so I could play volleyball again before I actually retired or thought about doing that. And actually that was actually a big saver for me. I really thought at the time when you fixed my shoulder that I was like, okay, I guess I'm done. I'm not going to play anymore. And it just took what? A week? 2 weeks?
Well,
and all of a sudden I was able to...
I get that a lot, but not everybody's that easy.
Yeah. Well, you have to want to get fixed, right?
Absolutely.
But you have your own practice. I mean, it's called Back in Action Bodywork over in Torrance.
Yep.
It's is it a franchise or? It started off as a
kind of franchised like years ago, and then they kind of disbanded. There's about 50 or 60 doctors all doing non-surgical spinal decompression therapy.
Right.
That's a mouthful. And all the back in action doctors did decompression therapy, specialized treatment for disc herniations, degenerative discs, pinched nerve sciatica, the scarier kind of spinal stuff that's pre-surgical, but a lot of them were surgical candidates, and we saved them from having surgery. So that's one of the best decisions I ever made for my practice, because it has helped so many people to avoid surgery.
But they disbanded.
Yeah, they kind of went their separate ways.
So now you are officially an entrepreneur with your own practice, own clinic,
my own label,
your own label.
Yeah.
So back in action, to get back in action. I like to play on words there. Get your back into action. You're back in action.
Yeah, so we like it too. We like it.
You know, and what aside from the decompression stuff, I mean, your approach is a little bit different, because like many really good chiropractors out there, it's more than just manipulation. It's about the holistic. It's like the whole entire being. Yeah. So you also do like yoga, you surf, beat up your body, and then get your body fixed again, right?
Pretty much.
By nature, and to challenge nature and the elements, right?
Well, a lot of people don't probably know listening in that beginning of this year, we did the Energy Mind Body Transformation event.
Oh yeah.
Which you led, and which was phenomenal, and I got to be one of the featured speakers. That was really awesome. And it was kind of the tipping point for me. You know, just before that, I made a few declarations. I was going to have 2018 be my big year, write my book, really start putting it out there. And it was like within a week, you called me and said, hey, how'd you like to speak at this event? And I said, how can I say no? I just threw my hat over the wall and I said, I'm doing this show. That was a transformational event for me, as well as for a lot of the people at that audience. But it's been a long time, you know, about 35 plus years being in and around transformational work. Way back in the day, it was just psychology. Then it was personal growth. Then it was, you know, personal empowerment. And now everybody's throwing the word transformation, but it's always been about transforming, becoming your next best version of yourself. And how do you do that? Where's the reset button? How do you refresh and, you know, reboot the system as a newer, better version of you? And that's what I love about working with you. Violet and I have hired you as a relationship coach. A lot of times coaching can include all kinds of things. And, you know, I've worked with hundreds or if not thousands of people, even outside of health. You know, I'm a health coach. I've done relationship, financial, business coaching. I've done all kinds of stuff. But it always comes back to the basic essence of who we are as human beings, understanding what the nature of, you know, who we are is really all about. Once you start to understand the design, things can get really simple and really clear. Sometimes it's a word, sometimes it's just being with another person and kind of feeling them. And you get that like I was going to call it a show. This is the show, but the energy, mind, body transformation
experience, that one, the EMBTE.
It was definitely an event, and it was definitely a transformational. But just by being around the right people, a lot of times we just pick it up. It gets on us, you know, and that's why we love working with you. And again, why I couldn't say no to being here today. I mean, kindred, you know, spirits.
I know, totally. I mean, I still remember. I mean, the first time that we met was 7 years ago now. It's about 7 years ago. And I think one of the first levels of engagement, we met at a BNI networking group. And then you invited me to kind of stick around at your office one day, and then we say, hey, let's do this mastermind of Think and Grow Rich.
That's right.
And that's when I realized, hey, this is not your typical chiropractor. He wants to sit there and do personal development, personal growth, all about entrepreneurship. I was like, hey, this guy, you know, is a man going after my heart, because I'm an entrepreneur and I coach entrepreneurs. I work with entrepreneurs. How we ended up doing relationship coaching, because it's a holistic thing, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm so happy to see the transformation that has happened. And I think a lot of what you do beyond just that is that you love to speak, you love to teach, you love to train, you love to, I mean, there's so many different levels. And I think that's what's so cool about the type of business that you run. First, as an entrepreneur, you can make your business any way you want. And you've, in a way, made your business your own.
When you invited me to the transformational event, Energy, Mind, Body Transformation, that gelled something for me, which was, you know, I love surfing, I love music, and I love chiropractic. And those are my main passions in life. And those are the things that I draw from. Basically, I feel like with those three things under my belt, I can take on anything. I'm most passionate about those things, and they've taught me the most about life. And in fact, that's kind of the gist of the book that I have in mind. I want to write, you know, basically everything I ever wanted to know about life, I learned from surfing. But I could say that about chiropractic. I could say that about music.
Everything's all blended.
It all kind of gets merged together. That's the way a holistic doctor thinks, and holistic people.
And I think that's where the unique value is, you know. I mean, if you don't blend, if you're a holistic doctor and you don't blend all your talents and skills together from all aspects of your life, then you're just another cookie cutter.
It certainly makes it more fun. It's definitely way more fun to live life like that.
It gives you more hernias. So we have a comment there, essential oils for fun, from Violet. Okay, cool.
Hi,
What's up, Violet?
Okay, great.
Awesome. So, so great. Well, the name of today's show, and people are probably wondering at this point, when are you going to get to the topic of the show? The topic of the show today is it's kind of what we talked about it actually a little bit before we decided what the title of the show is going to be, which is the Build It and They Will Come lie. And for those that are not old enough to remember the field of dreams. Yeah, I call it the field of dreams approach. And then a lot of people, I used to use that for years. And you made a good point the other day when we were talking. I said, yeah, but a lot of the, Tide Pod eating generation probably won't understand what we're talking about. They
didn't know that movie.
Yeah, they're like, field of dreams, like field what dreams?
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner when he was in his 20s, right? Or 30s. Or...
Some people say I look like him, but I think he has more hair than me.
and he sometimes has webbing on his feet, and he swims in a world of water.
Right.
Yeah, and he has Bull Durham and all.
Yeah, his story was build it and they will come.
Yeah, so let's bring people who are not of that generation up to speak. What was that movie about, The Field of Dreams, and why was that phrase coined so often since its inception? Like, which is build it and they will come.
Well, that's been around long before that movie. The idea that all you have to do is set up shop, and the details take care of themselves. And I think there's a lot of things in life that are like that. You put on the right hat or costume or whatever, and people recognize you for, if you're a police officer, you have a uniform and they know what to expect from you.
Right.
But if you're in a whole new field, or if you're like this holistic blending of all these things, and there's no way for people to associate that with something they're already familiar with. When you're in the world of transformation, we're always recreating ourselves as something new, hopefully something better. The lie, I guess you could say, was it wasn't actually build it and they will come. It was a variation on it,
Right.
And,
so this is us getting into a bit of your money story that drives that. I mean, I think back in the day when there were not many stores around, if you just build a store, people's like, what's that?
Right.
Now we've got internet. Now we've got brick and mortar. Now we've got everything in the world. And so the old perception of belief in business that if you just build it, that they will come, is not really, unless you build it so big that they can't help but notice what is it. Yeah, like a stadium or something like that, right? So in your particular case, how does that play through in terms of your money story, and how did that impact your journey to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of doing personal transformation and coaching, and I'm sure you see this all the time. People get ideas in their head that are not true. There's that old
ideas or thoughts or beliefs.
Well, sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's a word or an idea, but if you stick around with that, or you hear it enough, or if you say it enough, it becomes a belief.
Oh, right.
And then things start to kind of match up with that in your version of reality, and then you start noticing there's all this evidence to support it. So you say, well, of course, that's how it is. And as a transformational coach or leader, I say that, question not authority, but question your own authority. Sometimes we set stuff up and then we forget that we set it up that way.
Yeah.
And then we're like the mouse in the trap, and we forgot that we built the trap
to catch ourselves.
And so, yeah, you want to find a way to pull yourself out of the trap. One of the best.
So are you saying that a lot of us end up building our own cage?
Absolutely.
For ourselves based on these belief systems or things that we build up and stuff like that. By the way, I think we're about to get into some cool gemstones right now, because you're about to lay down some some knowledge right now. So for those of you who are listening, either on Spreaker or on YouTube, remember, you can interact with Dr. Rodney Ruge here. Dr. Ruge, Dr. Rodney, Dr. Ruge, Dr. RR. No. Anyway, and if you're on Spreaker, you can go into the chat screen either on your phone or your mobile device. If you're on YouTube, you can do what Violet did already and just go and pop into the chat over there and say hello or ask the question. So lay down some knowledge, Dr. Ruge.
Well,
let me know what's up.
One of my favorites is a little, I think it's a Chinese proverb.
Oh, are you using that because I'm Chinese, or I just
thought about that?
It's just create that connection.
It's just a good story.
Building rapport.
The source isn't always that important, but the fact is, made a huge impact on me many years ago when I heard this. And the saying is, air to a bird, water to a fish, and a human being to themselves. And really what that means is, if you could talk to a bird, or you could talk to a fish and say, hey, what do you think about all this air, Mr. Bird? Or what do you think about this water? They're going to look at you like you're crazy, because they're so in it that they can't see it. And it's not until like as a coach or so on, you can literally reach in and pull that fish out of the water. And of course, the first thing that they do is they start screaming, put me back, put me back. Right? Kind of like the movie The Matrix, right? You come out and then you realize, oh my God, I had no idea. And there's an urge to just put me back in, give me the blue pill and I'll just go back in and I want to forget that I knew this. And then the other way is to really confront the reality that we actually built the trap.
Right.
And so when you're in the water and you don't notice it, again, it's a human being to himself. There's all these parts of you that you built.
Right.
You had a little bit of help from your teachers, from your parents, from your peers and so forth.
Right.
Maybe a lot of help. Sometimes we hang out with people that are just like us.
Right.
So we don't have to grow. So we don't have to be uncomfortable. And I've always kind of pushed myself to be around people who were different from me because I knew I could learn more from somebody who was unlike me than from hanging out with people who were just like me.
Okay. So let's go back to talking about, you know, what got you to here today. I mean, your money story in terms of what you grew up with, in terms of that cage that you're talking about, that belief system, the build that they come. Let's talk about that money story that you grew up with.
I'm a synthesis of both of my parents and a lot of other people, but I think it always starts out as with our parents. Dad was literally a rocket scientist. You know, he was a systems, he was a control systems engineer. In the aerospace industry. He worked with the military. They put spy satellites in orbit. So you can kind of get the gist of what kind of a mentality, you know, very left brain, very linear, very structured.
Someone you can't say, you know, it's not rocket science. You say, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. But that's not rocket science, but this is.
I was born in 65. I was episode 65. That's why it's such a great episode to be
Oh,
in.
nice.
But, you know, being a flower child or whatever, a child of a flower child. My mom was kind of a hippie. Okay. Hopefully she's listening, and hopefully I don't say something too upsetting. Mom, I love you.
Well, I mean, I think any parent would love to hear their kid on the air on a show, basically talking about their expertise. I held him before he could say a word. You know, in my arms, and now look at him.
I hope. Well, I don't want to upset her, because what I'm going to tell her. Or say to everybody is that the lie I learned from her. Okay, so sorry, Mom, I love you. But it was kind of that build it and they will come. You know, it was just, I think what she actually said was, do what you love and the money will come. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, what I found was, you know, as a surfer, it was really hard to make money surfing. You know, unless you're a pro and everybody wants to pay you to sponsor you and so forth. In music,
or you build a surf shop.
I know people that did that. You know.
Yeah. Scam, likely.
That's not funny. So in music, kind of the same thing, you know, being an artist or whatever. Well, then I found chiropractic and I said, okay, great, a doctor. But I decided that I wasn't going to be a medical doctor. I wanted to do something different, and it had to do with my dad's experience in medicine. He was diagnosed as a diabetic early on. I was about 10 or 11 years old. And like a lot of people, I thought that medical doctors fixed people. They would heal them. And so forth. And then as time went on, he seemed to develop more and more problems. And
so they weren't healing him.
And the methods that they used was just treating the symptoms. And so pretty much that's how I ended up choosing chiropractic. I thought all chiropractors were holistic, which turns out that's not true either. They're alternative. Sometimes it's the alternative to medicine. Sometimes it works alongside of medicine. And I'm pretty much more in that category. Yeah. I'm not anti-medicine. There's a lot of help that medical doctors can do and do. That's not a good thing to say. Do. But
they probably have to deal with some doo-doo too.
With you know, Mom telling me, you know, just build it and they will come. I just basically set up a shop and said, gee, where's all the patients? You know, it's a little bit different in Western medicine, where you got a 2 or 3 month waiting list. You've paid your premiums and you're in the system. And now they funnel you to your medical doctor. They don't necessarily funnel you to a chiropractor. And more and more things that actually work are not covered by your insurance. Things that actually treat the cause of the problem are left out. And you're paying your premiums, and now you feel married. And it's kind of like the rat trap. You built the trap because you're part of that system, where now you say, well, it's not covered, so I'm not going to do it. And say, yeah, but this is what's going to help you. You know, let me show you.
Right.
And that's the thing, you know, I can actually demonstrate pretty quickly. In your case, it was 1 or 2 weeks, and you saw a pretty massive transformation in your physiology and the way your body performed and how you felt. If we were just treating the symptoms, we could make you feel good, and you could go and do what you were doing, but cause more harm and more damage while you feel good. And that's not the path that I wanted to choose. But again, we built it and said, well, where's all the customers? Where's all the money? And it was a struggle. And it meant that I had to transform myself numerous times, like the fish. I had to get out of the water, find a coach, hire a coach, a consultant, or whatever. I pretty much always had coaches working with me to help me see past my own limiting thoughts and ideas and the way that I kind of built my own cage or rat trap. So yeah, that's the story behind the story.
You know, and I think I don't think your mom in particular intended it for you, because that's an old paradigm. I mean, it's an old belief system. And you know, one of the things,
and it's actually true to a point.
Right.
You know, the correct answer most of the time.
I mean, there's a lot of gaps there. I mean, when someone says when you build it, that you do what you love and the money will come, it says, okay, great, do what you love, and steps like 3 through like 99, and then the money will come, right?
That part was not built in. The short and sweet is easy. That's the part of the trap that I see most often with a lot of patients is, oh, if I just go to my medical doctor, I can take these pain pills and I feel great and I'm back to work.
Right.
And the shortcut most often is a trap. It's, you know, it's going to find out later that the problem actually got worse. And again, it's not a bash against the medical profession. It's a paradigm that has shortcomings.
Yeah.
And if we as the consumers don't recognize that, then we're part of the trap.
Because I think there are good doctors and there's obviously equally bad doctors. I mean, there's good people and people who are, you know, kind of fallen off the path, if you will. I mean, they're not necessarily bad people. They just fallen off the path. You know,
I heard a statistic recently. It says at least 80% of medical doctors got into the profession because they want to help people. It wasn't all about money. It wasn't about prestige or any of that other stuff. They're good people that really have an earnest desire to help others. And what I keep hearing and running into are medical doctors who are really unhappy because they're trapped in a system that won't allow them to do what they want to do. They're worried about losing their license. They want to do natural and alternative, but they're worried about the consequences.
Yeah,
it's the insurance companies or with licensing boards.
Right. So there's all kind of, I mean, and I think that's true in almost any industry. I mean, the medical industry is pretty stringent. I mean, the financial industry also has a lot of compliance issues and everything like that. I mean, pretty much every industry has their structure in terms of what people, you know, practitioners will worry about, right? I mean, even though we don't have as stringent rules as coaches and whatnot, but coaches also can get sued too. I mean, it almost comes. We live in such a litigious society.
Any business or even if it's a new product, if it stays around long enough, if it becomes well known enough, the legislators will come in, the regulators will come in. They'll start imposing rules and standards and so forth, and kind of restrict what's possible.
It's like Judge Dredd. I am the law, and we're gonna make law.
Dredd.
Right. So okay, so the money story basically was that, you know, what's fascinating is this, that you actually, if you were given the steps early on, you may have. I mean, because we live in a country where you can make money doing anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about the pet rock all the time. In first year in business, he made $4 million. Open up a bar, you know, Uncle Milton's Ant Farm. I mean, 50 million units sold to date. It's still going. So you could actually make money doing anything. The challenge is, because of how society is, how culture is, there's so many missing gaps. They say, well, here's the starting point and here's the end point. Well, what's all happening between? And so in your exploration, understanding like, well, it's not necessarily was a lie per se, but it wasn't the entire truth.
Correct.
Right. Correct. And how did you start to then fill in those gaps so that you can bridge that doing what you love? And then, I mean, out of everything, is surfing still your biggest love?
I don't know. I wouldn't put anything ahead of the other. I mean, you know, when I'm surfing, there's certain peak experiences you cannot experience any other way. You can say the same thing about chiropractic or about music. I'm sure there's lots of people out there.
That's right. You're a musician too. I forgot to mention that.
People have their own passions, and you know, they just feel more alive. And to me, that's kind of the golden principle behind all of this stuff. You know, is does it add life to your life? And the correct answer for you may not be the correct answer for somebody else. And so the answer is pretty much always, it depends.
Right.
Hey, is this the right pillow? Is this the right bed? You know, is this the right supplement? Is this the right thing to do with my life? Well, it depends. You know, where are you going? What are your goals?
Right. So you've been in business for over 20 years now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so at what point, and then like you said, it was, you know, it wasn't always, you know, like peachy king, sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah. Well, we had good years and bad years. You know, there was times when we made a lot of money, and sometimes that was the same year that we spent a lot of money. And it's like, wait, what happened? You know, if it was
symptoms of money anxiety,
right?
It's like you expand to match what your income is versus, you know, it's kind of like the LA freeways. You know, it doesn't matter how many lanes you open up and build. You can build like 10 lanes and they'll get full the next day. You know, it's like so at what point did you realize, like, okay, great, we need to fill in the gaps? Where was your biggest pivotal point in terms of the shift around money, monetizing your business and everything?
Honestly, it's I don't think it's any one big moment. There's a few things that maybe will stand out. But the fact is the thing I would like to impress on people the most is very similar to chiropractic, you know, that it's small adjustments. You make a single adjustment may or may not be life-changing for somebody.
But I want the miracle crack.
But right, I mean, that's the thing.
You come in and crack.
You know, I always
crack
tell
my
people,
back and I walk out fine.
I always tell some of my patients, like, oh, it didn't crack, it didn't make a noise. It's like, look, the adjustment is more important than a sound, and this is not a crack house, okay? So, well, you know, the thing is like when you have something tangible like that, it kind of impresses on your mind or your subconscious mind, oh, something happened. And then you start to manifest, whether it's through intention or conscious, you know, effort, or if it's at a subconscious level, you tend to manifest those things that you're already expecting. Your expectations tend to be met, not only by the people around you because of the way you talk and interact, but by your own subconscious mind in the way that you imprint these things on there. You say, hey, something happened, and you start to expect this change, and lo and behold, you start to create that, and it's an interesting phenomenon. It's very, very powerful. But
how do you deal with the crack junkies that come in then?
Well, you know, honestly, sometimes
because it does feel good.
You have to. It does. It does. There's a release of endorphins and enkephalins. Those are the body's natural opiates, and there's a good feeling that goes with that. And by the way, you can have that without, you know, cracking your neck or your back or whatever. Sometimes we talk about,
but it's that visceral, like
massage, deep stretching, and so forth. These are things that can release those endorphins naturally. So it's not, you know, particular to a chiropractic adjustment. But that's the good feeling. Okay.
Right.
What we really want is we want ideal performance and function. We want our bodies to work at their optimal level. And if we just recognize the things that we put in the way of that, sometimes it's as simple as pulling those things out. You pull in the stops and you dismantle the cage or dismantle the rat trap. And then you say, wow, I feel so freed up. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention my pain is gone. See, the emphasis is no longer on pain or feeling good. It's about how you're functioning and performing.
So, you know, I still remember one of the things that you shared with me years ago about, you know, we could fix the symptom or we can alleviate the symptom, but it doesn't necessarily fix the source of the problem. Right. And I think there's so much correlation to that, you know, and what I love about chiropractics who are very passionate about what they do, there's a direct correlation to entrepreneurship as well, because, you know, so many people, or just not just entrepreneur, but just your work life or just money flow in general, is like we're so focused often on symptoms, you know, the end result of a series of events that led to that end result. Yeah. Right. And I think chiropractic is just a physical representation of everything that's in our life, you know, and if someone walks in with certain, I mean, have you seen that if someone walks in with the symptoms that they have, and then you identify the source of the problem, that same thing is reflective of their personal life as well, as their business life as well.
Absolutely. You taking the words right out of my mouth.
I'm putting it back in.
I knew we were kindred spirits. Well, here's one of the things, and I know you're really big on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Was brought to the forefront probably more than anybody by Tony Robbins. So for those of you who know him or remember, that's really his claim to fame, and that's how he's able to help so many people. The neuro is obviously your brain, the way the brain's wired,
right?
And the linguistics is the languaging. And so one of the things is a dead giveaway when a patient comes into my office, or it could be anywhere really, but is you just listen to the words that they say. Sometimes it's what they say, sometimes it's what they don't say. It's a dead giveaway to the mindset and the belief system that's operating. And most times, 99.9 or whatever out of 100, it's a direct correlation. The belief system, the words that fall out of people's mouths, they're not even conscious, like the fish in the water. They didn't even realize they just said that. Right. That's the thing that's blocking them and interfering with their expression of health, not just getting out of pain. And so when we get into a trap like that, like, oh, my life sucks, or I'm not making enough money, or I'm in pain, if we had a coach who could kind of pull us out of the water and go, oh, look what you just said. And then you go, oh my God, I just said that. I sound just like my dad, or I sound just like my mom, or so on.
Okay.
Right. And then you start to find those anchors. And so sometimes we need an anchor because we need a place to stand, and we want to be, we want to be fixed, and we want to be solid. We want to have mass. The other side of it is an anchor can keep you stuck. And sometimes you need to let that thing go and be freed up. And really,
just to be clear, you can say mass is not like working out mass, like I'm getting buff.
It's to make something intangible more solid and real.
Right.
That's what I mean. Okay. So there's a lot of intangibles, love, honor, respect. You can't really take it out and measure it and weigh it and do all these things, but there is actually a way to do that, and what I'll do is I'll tell people, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much love are you feeling right now? How much respect? How much whatever to those? And that gives more mass to it. And they go, oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 5. Okay, so where would you like it to be? Most of the time they say, oh, I'd like it to be a 10. And then the goal is, well, if you're a 5, let's get you to 6 first.
Right.
Because there's nothing more disempowering than reaching for something that's so far out of your reach that you just got a failure after failure after failure. And so there's been times in business where the money stopped flowing, or the money wasn't there, and it was like, wow, what happened? This is really a struggle, and it's hard. And then you start to, back off, or you get your coach to say, hey, you need to look over here. And if and when you actually do, because there were many times when I didn't follow my coach's advice, I don't recommend that, especially when you're spending the kind of money that I spent on coaches. And then they say, hey, do this. Oh, I'm going to figure it out myself. Or, oh, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it my way. Don't do that. Just take the coaching, be coachable, and prove them right or wrong.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Something I noticed a lot of times, and you've probably seen this. I mean, I think most of what you do, it sounds like the most of the work is on the mental and emotional side to help really people. I mean, you help people like alleviate the immediate challenges, but the deeper work, the optimization piece, getting them into optimal health, actually incorporates less of the physical work, but more so the mental emotional work that you do while you're helping them on a week-to-week basis.
This reminds me of a question you asked me earlier, like you were looking for like that big nugget. And it's a lot of little nuggets all holding hands. Okay, there's all these little adjustments that I've made over the years. Sometimes
I'm seeing chicken nuggets holding hands right now for some reason.
Sometimes they're major insights that like blow up, and you go, oh my God, this changes everything. And sometimes they're little things, building blocks.
Right.
And then once you have a certain number of those in place, then the magic kicks in. Then you get that big insight because you needed that foundation first.
Yeah, because I remember, like, there have been numerous times in my life where when I completely neglected self-care, not taking care of my body, and it was actually showing up in my business and my money flow. And it was almost as if when I got my body back into alignment, when I made my body feel better, there was a bit of release. So would you say that, a lot of times when you have people who are really kind of like hardcore cases that come in, that it is not just their body that's suffering, their lives are also dealing with their money flows and everything like that. And it's kind of like a vicious cycle that just kind of gets them deeper and deeper into that suffering rabbit hole, if you will.
Yeah, to me, it's the holistic principle at work. You know, there's people who say, well, I don't believe in, you know, holistic medicine or whatever. It's like, it's not a religion. It doesn't require you to, gravity doesn't require you to believe in it. It's going to keep operating with or without your agreement. So, you know, when we start to look at, like, for example, some of the worst patients that I've seen, and health-wise, they don't have 1 or 2 health problems. They have 5 or 10 or 20. They're not on 1 or 2 meds. They're on 10 or 15.
Wow.
And again, you know,
and they're not getting better.
Well, if you get into the head, if you get into the mindset behind all of that, you're going to start finding all kinds of, sometimes they're major obstacles, but a lot of times they're these little pieces that are just blocking it here and blocking it here and so forth. And it's all this life force is trying to express itself through you in all these different areas of your life, but you've got so many obstacles set up that it's become impossible, and then it becomes unbearable, and then it has to manifest in your physical body as a sickness or an illness or a disease.
Right. So, you know, there's a ton of information that's being poured out right now, and it's like kind of like a bit of a fire hose scenario. So for our audience that's watching and just kind of like taking in this information, you know, in the context of what you do, what are some of the things that whether you're an entrepreneur or whatever, to look for? Because sometimes we don't see it on a mental, emotional level, but we feel it viscerally in our body first. I mean, it's kind of too late at that point, but because everything's unconscious, right? I mean, what would you say would be something that they should, you know, people should be looking for in terms of indicators? Because our body is an amazing, like, litmus tape, you know, of life, you know, based on your expertise.
I've been doing an experiment since the beginning of the year, and it was really, again, that
EMBTE.
Yeah, energy, mind, body transformation, where I decided that I was going to pay more attention to energy. That I was going to just kind of
the basis of man. You wanted to pay attention to energy.
Keep doing a gut check. You know, like, how does that feel to me, like emotionally, physically, and so forth, and just keep checking in. Part of the reason was I was confronting some major health challenges at the end of last year. I had a diagnosis of autoimmune disease affecting my thyroid. It's called Hashimoto's. It really messed with my physical energy.
Why did they name it after a Japanese guy? Did he find it? Did he just?
Yeah, Dr. Hashimoto. I guess that's
was the one who
they always name him after the doctor that discovered it.
I don't know if I don't mind being named after a star or like some kind of disease. It's like, this is the Hong disease. No, I don't want to be named after the disease. It's a terrible disease. I found it, but just don't put my name on it.
Yeah, well, beggars can't be choosers, right? Now that's it. See,
you have the way. Oh, I'm sorry.
There's another perfect example of a lie. You know, beggars can't be choosers. Of course they can. Why not? You know.
Well, a lot of beggars chose to be beggars.
Well, yeah, and it does limit your options and so your choices.
But then you chose that, right?
Exactly.
I chose to be limited in my options without money and.
So what was the question?
My head.
Where were we talking?
What were we talking about? Well, we're talking about the litmus tape, the human body, right? And and your epiphany at the beginning of the year of what you want to do is focus on the energy and how like your gut, which is kind of like your second heart, right? It's
or the second immune system is what everybody keeps talking about now. Yeah. So I had to pay attention to my gut health.
There's like more nerves there.
Interesting to say do a gut check, but the fact is autoimmune disease is related to unhealthy gut, leaky gut. When I got that information and I started working on it, I had a very quick turnaround with my energy level, with my health. And I'm still on the road to recovery. I'm still getting better and better day by day. And it is amazing the change, because for 2 years I was struggling and suffering and not able to do what I wanted to do. I mean, surfing is very demanding. I'm a high intensity guy. I'm a high intensity surfer. And I could not perform at the level that I was used to. It would blow me out for 2 weeks, you know, just dragging after surfing one time.
Wow.
And so, you know, that's when I said,
as opposed to just a day.
I had to check in with my energy level, but I also started checking in with how things affected me mentally, emotionally, even spiritually, just trying to gauge how is what's going on right now around me? Sometimes it's certain people, or it's an event, or it's in the news, what's going on with politics, the economy, etc. And really just kind of gauging things on how they registered in here. And it's been an interesting experiment.
So you're really using your body as a litmus tape, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you can use your mental, like I talk about my dad, the left brain.
Right.
I talk about my mom being kind of like the she wasn't really like a typical hippie love, whatever flower child, but she's the one who told me, you can do and be anything that you want. And then dad was always the one saying, well, we can't afford that or whatever.
So there's a little bit of conflict going on.
Oh, yeah. And so, it's my job, it's all of our jobs to synthesize our parents.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people go through that growing up, though.
Absolutely. It's part of the test. It's part of the test of manhood or womanhood or whatever, where like how well can you synthesize and put those things together and still be sane and still make sense out of your world and still be empowered.
But what if they're two rocket scientists? What would that happen then?
They probably never would have married each other.
But what if they did? Because there are parents who grow up same beliefs, same, and they got it's like a double whammy, and in terms of belief system, instead of giving you the option to choose between one or blend the two.
To me, it's just the opposites attract. I mean, they must have been something that attracted these two people together.
That makes sense.
And
Plus, minus.
Growing up, it's kind of like, well, how do you make sense out of this versus that? When they, on first blush, it seems totally contradictory. Well, of course, you're going to put it together the best way you can. And there were times when I leaned more towards his way of thinking or more towards hers. This thing that I got trapped in, the build it and they will come lie.
Yeah.
I got that mostly from her because that was not my dad's way of thinking.
So were you more? He was
the engineer, so you got to build.
And she was stay-at-home mom?
For the most part.
For the most part. So you probably spent more time with her, being in her energy, being around her language, being around
younger, for sure.
Yeah.
But she became a high-powered executive. She was actually a VP over at Citibank.
Nice.
And made lots of money. She was at the top of her thing, and she didn't go to college until age 35.
So money was no stranger to you.
And watching her grow and transform, that was one of the biggest things that just amazed me. For years, I would give her things that had a butterfly because that was a symbol of transformation.
So despite her planting that first seed, she also showed you a path of transformation that a lot of kids don't get to see in a lifetime.
Absolutely.
So I can only imagine the jumble of belief systems that were floating around in your head growing up. How did you make sense of it all? Because here's the thing: I bet you a lot of our audience members out there have that same perception. Like they've been taught by these gurus, they've been taught by these teachers and trainings and programs that just build this, do A, B, C, and stuff like that. And it's almost to a point where they just sit back, okay, and then wait.
Where all of us have our first gurus are our parents. And I don't know about, I can't speak for everybody, but I imagine a lot of people looked up to their parents like I did, like gods, like they're perfect. I want to be just like dad. Yep. I mean, I even will remember walking in my dad's shoes so I could sound like him walking down the hallway, right?
Or wondering when can I feel his shoes?
I want to be just like mom. And it's like, well, wait, how do you be like two different people?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge we all face. And then you meet teachers who inspire you, or you meet people, like I said, we fall in love with ourselves all over again when we recognize something beautiful in a
good way.
Absolutely.
Not in that what the typical narcissist.
No, I don't mean narcissism at all. I'm talking
like you're staring in the mirror all day going, I love you.
No, I'm talking about healthy, self-respect, self-love, where you know that the way that for you to make a difference in the world, to help other people, is to take really good care of yourself. Your body is a temple.
Right.
Every part of you should be treated as holy and with that kind of reverence. And when we do that, it's automatic that you will begin to transmit that onto the people around you, and they can feel that. So at an energetic level, people love you, or they feel safe with you. And then it almost doesn't matter what the idea is, but that's where we've got to be careful. And I say the answer is it depends. So if I recommend to somebody do X or do Y, that might turn out to not be a very good fit.
Right.
And if I'm not asking them for the feedback, or if they're not checking in with their own gut or their own neck or whatever body part,
Right.
they may not feel like they have the space to just tell me, hey, that's not working for me.
Right.
And that's one of the big chunks
Right.
that I picked up is my intention is nowhere near important in a relationship to the actual impact, the way it lands on another individual. And that's only a more recent understanding about the way that I interact with people. You know, sometimes I would insist, no, I know best. You know, I'm a doctor, or I know more about that than you do. Let's just follow my advice. And then not realizing that I'm just landing like a bully or like somebody who, or a
Respect
narcissist,
my authority.
Right. You know, I didn't spend 7 years in evil medical school to be called Mr. Thank you very much.
It's like the people that said that that finally get the PhD and they're not called doctors. They're like, doctor, excuse me. You know, it's the funniest thing. And I'm like, my apologies. I don't have the PhD. I'm sorry. But you know, what I find fascinating is that the conversation that we're having right now, and the conversations we always have, are the same types of conversation that you actually have with your own clients.
Yep.
I mean, this is no different than a session that your clients. Yep. So, you know, there are only a handful of chiropractors out there that I know. And you probably know some of them too, you know, like Sammy Pion and stuff like that. When you get into working in their environment, it's the same thing. I mean, it's more than just the manipulation, because I think the chiropractors at your level recognize that there's more than just moving some bone around and getting the nerves unpinched and decompressing this and that, because we have to explore, if you're truly there to help the client, like, you know, and I think with any coaching capacity, the same thing, we can fix the problem. We could have put a Band-Aid to it, but how did that occur in the first place?
We can all be, you know, no matter what job we do, we can all be technicians, or we can take it to a whole nother level where you are an artist at what you do. And to me, that's where the passion comes in. If you don't have passion for what you do, you should probably find a different line of work.
Right. Because you can make money doing anything, so you might as well be passionate about it.
Well, okay.
Right.
So you know, if you can make it doing anything, you might as well do something you love. That's why I chose chiropractic, and I took it to heart when Mom said, "Do what you love, and the money will come." And of course, I've had to fill in
the gaps,
those gaps to make sure, you know,
because if you don't put in the gaps, then you make it a lie. That lie then is something that you've actually created. You made it happen.
I've heard coaches and other people say, "Make it happen, make it happen," and it's kind of like this old military conquest. It's kind of what I see as one of the major shortcomings of Western medicine is we're going to go in there, we're going to kill the enemy, we're going to cut it out, you know, surgical precision, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, wait a second, maybe there's a different way to approach the problem.
Not everybody's built the same way though, right? So not everybody can just go in there and get it done.
Well, what I've done is I've modified. Instead of make it happen, is make it work.
So I used to work for a company called Make It Work.
Really? So was it about connecting with other people? You know, they say, "Oh, I want this," and you don't go and say, "Oh no, what you really want is that." Right?
Right.
So that, like, you can make it work by forcing this answer on somebody, and then, you know, like, prove me wrong, or here, let me show you, and so forth. But bottom line is, it has to produce the result. It has to work. So a lot of my patients come in, "Get me out of pain." And I go, "Wasn't there somewhere else you'd rather go besides just pain-free? Because that's like going from negative to 0.
Right.
When what we really want is 100.
Right.
You know, I want to be as healthy as possible.
Because that's how we came into the world, at 100.
Right. Exactly.
Well,
perfect.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Unless you're
twisted
and pulled out and wrung around and spanked, and then all of a sudden your spine's all messed up. Because it happens. I heard it from another chiropractor.
Sometimes that's necessary, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I heard it from another chiropractor that's exactly what he saw happen to his own son.
Yep.
And fortunately he knew what to do before his son almost died, basically.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
that happens. That does happen. You know, birth can be a traumatic experience.
Yeah, especially with the way they used to do things. You know, it's like, grab the head, twist it, come on, pull it out.
Forceps. Yeah, you don't want to pull that hard on
Right.
a little neck that doesn't have muscles and it's not
Yeah,
stable
there's
yet.
no support yet. So in the world of chiropractic, there's so many different niches that one can focus on. And like with any modalities, if you don't pick a particular niche, then you're just become a jack of all trades and master at none, right?
Yeah.
In your particular case, what would you say, so that the audience understand, for those that want to connect with you and stuff like that, what is your biggest focus or series of focuses that really help people move from the state of disempowerment to physical empowerment?
Huh? What? Can you repeat the question, please?
What's your niche? What is your specific focus in your particular
Oh, I thought that's
practice?
what you were asking me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, about 2006, I started into a whole new direction in my office. Where we added to the traditional chiropractic, we added non-surgical spinal decompression therapy, very high tech.
And what is that?
Very effective.
Specifically, in layman's terms. Por favor.
It's computerized, motorized, intermittent traction for degenerative disc, herniated disc, bulging, pinching on nerve, sciatica.
Okay.
That kind of pain that goes down your arm or down your leg.
Okay.
And basically,
so it fixes that.
We're rejuvenating that part of the spine. It's not going to be the whole spine. We're not decompressing like an accordion the whole spine, but we're focused on a specific disc. It does. It does. And people need to be in motion to stay healthy, right?
Right.
And so this is a way to add motion without the bending, twisting, popping, or cracking. A lot of people are afraid of that, especially when they're in that much pain. And so that's a really advanced technology that gets the job done at least 90 to 95% of the time.
So from what I understand, what you explained to me in the past is that it pulls the spine, it opens up the spine so fluid can go back in again, so that it can actually do its job to heal.
It gets moisture, oxygen, nutrients back into the disc, reestablishes the circulation that's local to that disc, breaks up adhesions and scar tissue around that joint in order to facilitate mobility, because without mobility, you're not going to be able to stay healthy once you get it healthy. So
we've been, in essence, starving. A lot of people have been, without the decompression work, have been starving their spine of all the nutrients and stuff like that.
Even with traditional chiropractic, you can get the job done, but it might take you 4 years, where with decompression, in less than a year, somebody's going to. And
that's kind of scary. That's our foundation, right? I mean, that's our core. I mean, without the spine, we'd just be like this.
It's not only the structural foundation, that's what supports you and keeps you standing upright and moving.
If you're a conduit for nerves and everything too.
It's also got the foundation neurologically, because the brain and the spinal cord pass through those vital structures. And if those structures are degenerative or arthritic, how does that impact your nervous system's ability to coordinate health and balance in your body? So that's what's so important about chiropractic.
So would you say entrepreneurs who are struggling are trying all these different ways to do it neurologically, emotionally, and they're still having struggles, and they're dealing with spinal issues and stuff like that, that there's a possibility that them not taking care of their foundation, their core, is reflected also in the way they're running their business, their life, and everything else. So sometimes I bet you there are people, because depending on who it is, you have to take a different approach, right? Have you heard of people, have you had clients that came in because you've improved their vessel, made them better, that it actually started to ripple out and make their business better, make their success, financial success and all those different things, simply because you've.
Well, the way that I work, we've kind of hinted at and talked directly about, if I can recognize the limiting beliefs that created the health challenge.
Because you get to know them really, really well.
When you work with people that closely over a period of time, you start to see these things. Like I said, things will fall out of their mouths as indicators.
Yeah.
And then I go, hey, can you just take a look at that for a second? That's the 187th time you said that, but I don't think it really registers. Like I don't know if it's really consciously coming out. And so when we do, they start to recognize that as a limiting belief, and then guess what? It starts to show, like you said, as a ripple effect into other areas.
Yeah.
So it's pretty awesome to work like that. I never thought about it like that, but it's transformational chiropractic.
Right. Oh, that's a good word. Maybe that's what it's called. Back in action, transformational chiropractic. Come in, we fix your problem, but then we change and transform your life.
If it's appropriate, like I said, it depends. Not everybody has such glaring limiting ideas and beliefs, but I would say most of us have some somewhere, You know, if
well, maybe that's your niche then. Maybe those are the people that you have come in, and those are the people who will spend the money and see it as an investment versus I want to fix my back.
Yeah, it's really kind of disheartening when it's a good idea with that, but that means is I'm not going to take action. You know, people go, oh, that sounds like a good idea, and then they do nothing. You know, if it was really a good idea, you'd be like running after this thing and giving everything you have to it. And so, you know, I've got a few patients right now that they're like all in, and it is so awesome and inspiring to work with these people because it almost doesn't matter what we do. They're going to get better.
Right.
They're going to have an amazing life. They're creating this thing consciously now instead of, you know, hey, you know, feed me. You know, I always use the analogy of if you took your car into the mechanic, they're going to fix the car while you go across the street and eat an ice cream cone. But in our shop, we're going to have you under the hood. You might get your hands a little bit dirty, but you're definitely going to learn how to take care of this thing a lot better.
So you're like a health transformational Sherpa.
A Sherpa. I use that analogy all the time.
Yeah.
I don't take the steps, but I show you where to step.
Wow.
I don't push you up the mountain. I walk with you up the mountain because I've been there many, many times with many people in all different kinds of situations, and we get them to the top, but you've got to take the steps.
Yeah.
That's really the bottom line.
I mean, most of us who guide and lead, like we've been there and we've fallen off and we gotten up and gone back again.
I've had quite a few bad falls myself,
you know, falling on the rocks and the pebbles below. So anyway, guess what? We're actually at the top of the hour. There's only a few minutes left.
That went so fast.
I know, right? So, you know, what I want to make sure that people understand is like, you know, people who watch and connect. Thank you, Violet, for being on. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, they're resonating with you, resonating with what you're saying, and they want to connect with you, whether it be local or whether it be virtual, stuff like that. How do they do that? How can they connect with you? So I can type this into the chat area.
Well, as you know, I really want to help as many people as I can, and there's limited time and space. So what I'm kind of planning right now is for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to open up some spots where people can get into the office if they want to do chiropractic. That's great. You know, spinal decompression, that's great too. I didn't mention I specialize in personal injury, but that's, you know, that's one of those things we're waiting for a car accident. So hope, God forbid, that should happen to you.
You don't need to be an ambulance.
But in any case, for the next couple of weeks, I would like to extend an offer to people where you can come in and get a complimentary evaluation and consultation. And then once you do that, we're going to reward you with for taking action with a free 30-minute massage. And Violet is the world's greatest massage therapist. She's awesome.
Amazing. She's amazing.
And that's my gift to you for taking action and having a look at your spine and your nervous system to see where you might be experiencing blockages to the expression of full health and vitality in your body.
And how do they connect with you? How do they reach out to you?
And you can reach us at our office at 310-325-2500.
Office. Okay.
Let's see. Or you can reach us at BIA Torrance. That's back in action. Torrance, B as in boy, IA Torrance at gmail.com.
Oh, at gmail.com. Okay.
And so you can reach out by email.
Okay. And then what's the website?
Oh, it's Back in Action Bodyworks.
Back in Action Bodyworks.
Yep.
.com.
Yes.
And if they're not local, you know.
Oh, I'll be happy to do a phone conference. Basically, when I do a consultation, they're 15-minute slots, whether it's by phone or in person. If somebody decides that they want to move forward and get an examination, obviously, if you're not in the area, we'll try to find you somebody in your area. I do have a larger network of doctors, not just Back in Action doctors, but chiropractors around the country. So a lot of times we can find somebody who's close to home, who's known and trusted. So
awesome.
Yeah, I would love to help you. So if you're listening right now,
mention the Money Lab.
And mention the Money Lab, and you'll get that complimentary gift.
Yeah, and this, you know, since this is recorded, and this will be probably on the interwebs forever. You know, at any given point in time, if they call in and just mention the Money Lab, you'll be able to help them regardless.
Yes, for you, I will do it.
All right, appreciate that.
A good man.
Awesome. So this is very cool. So that's basically our show for this week. Again, if you found this show to be this episode to be valuable and know of someone else that could benefit, I mean, deciphering the fire hosing that came from Dr. Ruge, which always happens because he's just he's so generous with his knowledge and everything that he's gone through, then absolutely share it. Review us on iTunes, Spreaker, or like the episode on YouTube Live. And did you know we even have a Facebook group called The Money Lab? Are you on the group?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Maybe should. I'll add you.
Groups on Facebook now.
Well, join us there to dive even deeper into bad money story elimination strategies, fixing things from, one of the a lot of times we try to fix things head on, but like we learned today, it's not always the head on approach. Sometimes you got to take care of self first, kind of like the oxygen mask.
And one step at a time.
Right. One step at a time. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's a wrap. Take this week to kind of apply the knowledge from today. Have an amazing week, and we'll catch you next week on the Money Lab Live podcast, where we will have Josh Thomas talk about money in the world of lending. So this is Wei and Dr. Ruge from Six Figure Academy signing out. We're still recording on YouTube, by the way.
Oh, we are? Hi, everybody.
All right, but everybody on YouTube land, see ya. We'll catch you next time. Oh, gotta love it. Let me see. Okay.